What if the real reason you're stuck isn't because of a lack of talent, but because of the small things you're not doing when no one is watching? Everyone wants to succeed, everyone wants the dream, but the truth is most people are lying to themselves about how it actually works. They're chasing the feeling of success, instead of doing the boring, quiet work that creates it. See, we've been sold this fantasy that success is some explosive moment, some grand opportunity, some life-altering breakthrough. But that's not how it works. That's not how anything truly great is built. Success isn't a moment, it's a rhythm, a system, a handful of simple, almost invisible disciplines done daily, repeated consistently, especially when nobody is watching. You don't rise to your goal. You fall to the level of your habits, and that's the part no one claps for. No one posts about it. No one tells you great job for showing up at 5 a.m. No one celebrates you when you choose the gym instead of Netflix. No one notices when you decide to study instead of scroll. But those moments, the invisible ones, are exactly what determine whether you live the life you want or the one you settle for. Let that sink in. Because right now, your future is being written by the decisions you make in silence. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's not about talent. It's about habits, and it's not about who's watching. It's about who you're becoming when nobody is. You see, success doesn't come with applause, it comes with repetition. Ask yourself this: what are you repeating? What are you reinforcing every day without realizing it? Is it procrastination? Is it excuses? Is it starting things and not finishing them? Because whether you mean to or not, you are training yourself. Every action you take, every choice you repeat, is teaching your mind what kind of person you are. Are you training yourself to be disciplined, or are you training yourself to stay the same? That's the brutal truth most people ignore. We admire the success. We admire the discipline, but we forget those results weren't created in the spotlight. They were forged in silence, when it was uncomfortable, when it was boring, when it was thankless, when it would have been easy to quit and no one would have noticed. That's the real test. And most people fail it. Why? Because they think it doesn't matter when no one sees. But here's the truth: when no one's watching is when it matters most. That's when your standard is revealed. That's when your discipline is tested. That's when your future is decided. Let others need validation. Let others wait for motivation. Let others live for attention. But not you, because you understand something they don't, that the reward isn't in the recognition. The reward is who you become by showing up every day, regardless of who sees. And that's the kind of power no one can take from you. Because when you're consistent in private, you become unstoppable in public. So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been waiting for a big breakthrough, stop searching for the next miracle and start mastering the next small habit. Choose one thing, one small discipline, and do it every single day. Do it when it's hard, do it when no one is watching, do it when it feels pointless, because that's how momentum begins, and once momentum is on your side, everything changes. And here's why you can't afford to ignore this: because the version of you you're becoming tomorrow is being built right now. Every choice is a vote, every habit is a brick, every day is a blueprint. So build something worth living inside of. Repeat the work, repeat the commitment, repeat the growth, because success, real, lasting success, is nothing more than a few simple disciplines repeated daily, especially when no one is watching. What most people don't realize is this: your life isn't changed by the goals you set, but by the habits you repeat. People write vision boards, chant affirmations, dream of wealth, health, success. But none of that means anything if your daily behavior doesn't match your future vision. The world doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you do every single day. That quiet discipline, when nobody is watching, becomes your loudest declaration of who you are. Discipline is the difference between a life you tolerate and a life you're proud of. But here's the catch: discipline doesn't come naturally. It's not built by mood or motivation. It's forged through repetition, and at first it feels mechanical, forced, even pointless, but that's the beauty of it. You're not supposed to feel ready, you're supposed to act anyway, because every time you act without motivation, you train your identity. You rewire the belief that says, I only do it when I feel like it. And you replace it with something much more powerful. I do it because it's who I am now. That shift is everything. Because once your identity changes, your habits stop feeling like a chore and start feeling like your nature. The gym isn't a task, it's just where you go. The book isn't a goal, it's just what you read. The early morning isn't a grind, it's just your starting point. Discipline is no longer something you chase, it's who you are when you stop trying to be something else and start becoming someone real. But you can't wait for the world to validate this transformation. The world is too slow to recognize quiet greatness. You have to validate yourself through repetition. You have to build without applause, improve without recognition, grow without permission. Because here's the truth. Success isn't some finish line where everyone celebrates you. It's a quiet place where you look back and realize I've changed. I've built something no one can take from me. The mistake people make is waiting for motivation. They think they need to feel inspired before they act, but that's backward. Action leads to inspiration. Consistency builds momentum. Movement creates clarity. You don't sit around waiting to feel ready. You move, you build, you repeat. And eventually, your emotions catch up to your standards. This is where most people fall off. They confuse excitement with progress. They feel good after listening to a video like this, but they never apply it. They treat motivation like a drug instead of a trigger for action. But you're not here for temporary hype. You're here to become someone extraordinary, and that requires the kind of discipline that doesn't scream for attention. It just shows up every single day, no matter how you feel. And let's be honest, some days it's going to feel pointless. You'll show up and nothing will seem to change. You'll work in silence while others post fake success. You'll keep repeating your routines while results lag behind, but that's where you separate yourself. That's where the real ones are made, when you keep going not because it's exciting, but because it's necessary. That's the grit few develop. That's the reason success feels rare, because the path is hidden behind daily repetition most people can't commit to. But you're different. You wouldn't still be here if you weren't. You feel it in your gut, that hunger, that ache, that knowing. You weren't built for mediocrity. You weren't meant to coast through life hoping for things to magically get better. You were meant to create the change. And you do that not through grand gestures, but through daily proof. Repeated disciplines that whisper to the world, I'm serious about who I'm becoming. So keep going, repeat the action, repeat the focus. Repeat the version of you that doesn't need applause, doesn't need motivation, and doesn't care if the world notices. Because the moment you master that kind of discipline, the world has no choice but to notice the results. And by then, you won't even need the recognition, because you'll already know you earned it, you built it, and nothing can take it away. Most people crave transformation, but very few are willing to honor the process it requires. They want results without repetition, rewards without the routine. But life doesn't bend to desire, it bends to discipline. Your outcomes will always be shaped by what you're willing to repeat when it's not exciting, when it's not convenient, when it's not easy. That's where the gap between potential and reality is closed. Not in the big moments, but in the silent ones. You don't need a new plan, you need a new pattern. One that aligns with the life you claim you want. Because every outcome you chase is already connected to a system. Either one you've created or one you've neglected. If your system is inconsistency, procrastination, comfort, then your results will reflect that. But if your system is built on small, relentless, purposeful action, your life will begin to rise, quietly at first, then undeniably. This is what most people don't want to hear. Your life is always a reflection of your systems, not your goals. You can write down a dream life. You can speak affirmations into the mirror. You can visualize your future every morning. But if your habits don't change, your life won't either. Systems eat intention for breakfast. And your current reality is proof of the systems you've been following, whether consciously or not. The real question isn't, what do I want? It's, what am I repeatedly doing that's shaping who I'm becoming? Are your days organized around progress or distraction? Are you making decisions based on your future self or your present feelings? The person who lives the life you want doesn't skip the basics. They master them. They execute the same small habits that most people overlook. Not once, not for a week, but every day, without fail. And this is where your power begins. By choosing to no longer live at the mercy of your moods, you decide what matters. You define what gets repeated. You commit to the standard, even when it's invisible to everyone else, because what's invisible now will soon become impossible to ignore. Think about it. Every time you choose structure over chaos, you plant a seed. Every time you choose discipline over ease, you strengthen your foundation. Every time you say no to distraction and yes to direction, you train your mind to lead instead of follow, and over time, those decisions compound. They shape your focus, they sharpen your confidence, they separate you from who you were. Repetition is how greatness is built, not once, not when it's easy, every single day, and it won't always feel like progress. Some days will feel like nothing is happening, but the work is being done, the standard is being set, and your identity is being upgraded quietly beneath the surface, until one day, people will ask how you did it, and you'll know the answer they don't want to hear. I just kept showing up. That's it. That's the difference. Not talent, not timing, just repetition. Relentless, intentional, focused repetition. That's what builds champions. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. That's what turns possibility into reality, and that's what you are here to master. So don't chase results, chase the rhythm, lock into the repetition. Build the patterns that build the future, because when you master the habit, the outcome takes care of itself. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you already know what needs to be done. You've always known. It's not some secret strategy or magic formula you're missing. It's the courage to do what most people won't. It's the discipline to make today matter when no one's watching. It's the decision to stop negotiating with weakness and finally declare who you are, not just with your words, but with your actions. People spend their lives searching for shortcuts, waiting for signs, hoping for a moment where everything clicks. But moments don't create discipline. Discipline creates moments. The breakthrough comes after the repetition, not before. It's the days when nothing seems to be changing that are building the future you're chasing. And if you quit in those moments, you don't just lose the habit, you lose the person you were becoming. The greatest threat to your success isn't failure, it's inconsistency, starting strong, then falling back. Getting motivated, then losing focus, the stop-on, go pattern that turns potential into regret. But the truth is, you can break that cycle at any moment. Right now, in this second, you can decide that the version of you who follows through, who finishes, who repeats, that's who you are now. Because you don't need more inspiration, you need confirmation, proof to yourself that you mean what you say. And that proof doesn't come in one big act. It comes in the small, daily decisions you keep repeating when it's boring, when it's lonely, when no one claps. That's what builds the inner fire that can't be extinguished. That's what forges the quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. You want power, keep your promises to yourself. Do what you said you'd do, even when it's no longer exciting, especially then, because anyone can work hard when they feel like it. But the one who works when they don't, that's the one who earns freedom, that's the one who becomes unstoppable. Every single day, life is asking you one question: are you serious about who you say you want to become? Not when you're motivated, not when it's convenient, but when it's dark, when it's hard, when you're alone. That's the moment that builds or breaks everything. And if you're still listening, you already have what it takes. You're not average, you're not casual. There's something in you that refuses to settle, refuses to stay stuck, refuses to let this life pass by untouched. And that part of you, that's the real you. That's the you that wins, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, more focused, more consistent, more locked in on your mission. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop delaying the discipline that your future is begging you to master. Repetition may not look exciting on the surface, but deep down it's the most powerful force you have, Because when the habit becomes who you are, success becomes inevitable. You don't need permission to become great. You don't need applause, followers, or a lucky break. What you need is already inside you. The ability to decide that every day matters. The ability to repeat the right actions long enough to become undeniable. The world doesn't owe you recognition. Life doesn't hand out rewards for potential. It pays those who are consistent, the ones who show up without needing to be seen, the ones who build themselves in silence, one disciplined choice at a time. People think greatness is about the big moments, the spotlight, the breakthrough, the viral success. But greatness is boring, it's unglamorous, it's quiet, it's showing up to the work no one else wants to do every day without fail. It's pushing forward when no one's encouraging you, when no one's checking in, when you're the only one who believes in what you're building. Because that's what makes you unbreakable, not talent, not luck, discipline. And the thing about discipline is it doesn't shout, it whispers, it says, get up. It says, keep going. It says, you said you would, so do it anyway. Even when you're tired. Even when you're doubting everything, especially then. Because the moment you honor discipline over emotion, you stop being controlled by circumstance and start controlling your direction. Every time you choose discipline, you stack proof. Proof that you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't just talk about change, they live it. The kind of person who doesn't chase the quick win. They build the foundation that never crumbles, and that foundation is made of repetition. Not once, not when it feels good, but day in, day out, brick by brick. That's what separates leaders from dreamers. That's what separates those who rise from those who wait. The leader doesn't need to feel ready. They don't need the energy, they simply know, this is what I do. This is who I am, and that identity gets stronger with every habit repeated. Every time you rise when it's hard. Every time you act when it's easier to quit. Every time you do the work when no one will see it, and eventually that identity becomes permanent, you start carrying yourself differently, thinking differently, making decisions from strength, not weakness. Because you've lived the evidence, you've earned the right to believe in yourself, and no one can take that away from you. That's what you're building right now. Not just a result, but a reputation. With yourself. One that says, I do what needs to be done. One that says, I don't break when things get tough. One that says, watch me show up again. So the next time it feels pointless, remember this. You're not doing it for now. You're doing it for who you're becoming. You're doing it for the day the results finally catch up. And when that day comes, it won't be a surprise. It'll be the result of everything you've been repeating in silence. The habits, the focus, the discipline, that's where the real power lies. You don't rise by chance, you rise by choice, and you repeat that choice until it becomes your identity. Keep choosing, keep repeating, keep rising. Most people spend their lives reacting to problems, reacting to distractions, reacting to whatever feels urgent instead of what's truly important. But discipline flips the script. Discipline turns you into a creator, a leader, someone who doesn't wait for direction but defines it. Because when your days are built on intention, not emotion, everything changes. You stop drifting. You start deciding, and the decisions you repeat shape the legacy you leave. That's what this is about: ownership. No more outsourcing your future to luck, timing, or other people's approval. Discipline is the quiet decision to take your power back. It says, no one's coming to save me, and that's exactly why I will rise. Because the moment you stop blaming, you start building. The moment you stop waiting, you start winning. And every act of discipline is a brick in that foundation, one that can't be shaken by opinions, setbacks, or temporary failure. And yes, there will be failure. There will be days when it all feels like a grind. When the voice in your head tells you it's not worth it, that it's too late, that no one's noticing, but that voice isn't truth, it's resistance. It's fear wearing the mask of reason, and the only way to silence it is through action. Consistent, disciplined action. Because when you move anyway, when you push through anyway, you prove to yourself that your feelings don't get to run your future. This is how confidence is built, not from compliments or achievements, but from doing the hard things repeatedly. Confidence is built when you see yourself act with discipline in the moments you used to run. When you start becoming the person you once doubted you could be, and it doesn't happen in a week. It happens through unshakable commitment to the small things that compound over time. The early mornings, the focused hours, the sacrifices no one will ever see. You don't need motivation. You need a standard, something unbreakable, something that doesn't bend to pressure or fade with excitement. Because when your life is built on standards, you no longer need hype to move. You move because it's non-negotiable. You move because you've decided this is who you are. And once that decision is made, every day becomes a vote for your future. Think of your life as a scale. On one side are the habits that hold you back, distraction, delay, comfort. On the other side are the disciplines that pull you forward, focus, repetition, growth. Every action you take adds weight to one side, and the side you feed is the side that wins. So feed the right side, stack the habits, keep repeating what builds you. Because you're not just building a better schedule, you're building a better mindset. You're not just managing time, you're managing your future, and every time you choose structure over chaos, purpose over pleasure, discipline over desire, you are making your future self stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. This is what separates those who dream from those who do. Not ambition, not intelligence, just the daily decision to be relentless in the things that matter. When the world gets noisy, you stay locked in. When others get tired, you dig deeper. When nothing is happening, you keep going anyway. Because you know this is how it's done. This is how excellence is created. So ask yourself right now, what will I repeat today that reinforces who I want to become tomorrow? And whatever the answer is, do it. Do it again and again until the results become undeniable, until the identity is cemented, until discipline is no longer what you do, it's who you are. There will come a moment when the results still haven't arrived, when your effort feels invisible, and the world around you continues as if you haven't changed at all. That's when most people walk away. That's when most people shrink back to comfort, because they can't yet see what their discipline is building. But those who win, those who rise to a life that others only dream of, they understand one truth that changes everything. Your results don't come after one good day, they come after 1,000 ordinary ones, done with extraordinary consistency. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's not meant to feel amazing, it's not fireworks and fanfare, it's quiet, it's repetitive, it's waking up, showing up, and locking in on your mission whether the world cheers for you or not. That's the real power, when you don't need recognition to do the work, when your standard is stronger than your mood, when your future matters more than your feelings, because the results are not just found in the outcome, they're found in who you become on the journey. The version of you that pushes through resistance, that doesn't fold when it's inconvenient, that keeps promises to themselves. That version is rare, and rare becomes unstoppable. That's the version that builds success that lasts, because it was forged in discomfort, not handed through ease. Think about it. How many people do you know who start strong and finish nothing? How many chase motivation and live on emotional roller coasters, doing everything when they feel good and nothing when they don't? That's not strength, that's survival. But you're not here to survive this life. You're here to shape it, to build it, to master it, and mastery comes through repetition. Every single habit is a vote for your future. Every repetition reinforces a belief that you're disciplined, that you're focused, that you're capable. So even if the mirror hasn't changed, even if the bank account hasn't moved, even if the world hasn't noticed, you've already won something far more valuable. You've taken control. You've proven to yourself that you can lead your life instead of following your excuses. And that power, that self-leadership, it can't be given, it must be earned through action, through repetition, through standards that don't collapse when life gets heavy, because life will get heavy, people will doubt you. Days will blur, emotions will shift, But if your discipline is real, none of that will matter, because you'll keep going, not for the attention, not for the validation, but because it's who you are now. So stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect. They won't be. Stop waiting for the praise to begin. It may never come. Stop asking the world for permission. It's not theirs to give. The decision to change, really change, is yours alone, and it happens in the next action you repeat. In the next discipline you reinforce. In the next time you choose progress over comfort, excellence over average, power over weakness. This is what separates the few from the many, not talent, not luck. Just this, relentless, focused, disciplined repetition, until you become the kind of person who doesn't just want more, but works for it, earns it, becomes it. And once that switch flips, once the standard becomes non-negotiable, once the repetition becomes your rhythm, no one can stop you. Not your past, not your circumstances, not even the doubt that used to run your life, because now you're not hoping anymore, you're proving. Every single day, there's a shift that happens when discipline becomes your language, when your actions begin to speak louder than your intentions, when your choices reflect vision instead of emotion. That's when life stops controlling you and starts responding to you. Because discipline isn't just about doing hard things, it's about becoming the kind of person who does them without needing to be told, without needing a reason, without waiting for the right time. You begin to realize that the life you want doesn't require more luck, more time, or more chances. It requires ownership, ruthless ownership of your patterns, your mindset, your effort. You stop blaming your circumstances, your past, or the people around you, not because they didn't affect you, but because they no longer control you. That's what discipline gives you, freedom from the excuses that once held you back. And it's not about perfection. It never was. Discipline isn't some flawless, rigid machine. It's messy, it's gritty. It's full of moments where you fall short, where you slip, where you feel like giving up. But you keep going anyway, not because you feel strong, but because you refuse to stay weak. That's the power most people never develop. The ability to rise after every stumble, to return to the habit, to recommit to the mission even when motivation has vanished. The reason repetition works is because it builds evidence. Real, undeniable proof that you are becoming someone different, someone stronger, someone focused. You don't need to convince yourself anymore. You have a track record now, a history of showing up, a pattern of doing hard things when it would have been easier to quit. And every time you do it again, you make that identity more solid. You make it real. You are no longer trying to become disciplined. You are proving that you are. And from that place, everything shifts. Opportunities begin to open because you've created the character to handle them. Confidence grows because you're no longer borrowing belief from others. You've built it from within. Your energy becomes magnetic because people can sense when someone moves with purpose instead of impulse. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. You know who you are because you've paid the price to find out. So when you feel tired, when you feel unnoticed, when it all seems slow, remind yourself, this is where most people stop. This is where average gives up. This is where the gap is created between those who live with regret and those who rise into a life most never reach. And the only difference is that you kept going. Discipline isn't something you achieve and set aside. It's something you maintain, something you recommit to daily, something that becomes the rhythm of your life. And that rhythm, steady, simple, strong, is what carries you through storms, through setbacks, through seasons of silence where no one sees what you're building. But one day they will. One day the results will speak for you. The energy, the progress, the transformation. It will all echo the habits you repeated when no one was paying attention, and in that moment you won't need to explain anything. You'll just keep moving forward. Quiet, unshaken, relentless, there comes a moment when everything begins to click, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. You look around and realize the chaos doesn't affect you like it used to. The noise doesn't shake you, the doubts don't derail you, because discipline has built something inside of you that no one can see but everyone can feel. You've become solid, grounded, unmoved by the things that once made you question your worth. And it didn't happen overnight. It didn't come from a surge of motivation or a lucky break. It came from every morning you got up and did the work, from every moment you chose growth over comfort, from every single time you kept your word to yourself when no one else would have noticed if you broke it. That's what created the quiet power you walk with now. That's what shaped the mindset that no longer begs for ease but demands excellence. You stopped needing hype because now you have habits. You stopped chasing quick wins because now you respect long-term rewards. You stopped trying to convince the world of your potential because now your presence speaks louder than your words ever could. That's what happens when discipline becomes your foundation. You don't have to announce who you are. You just live it, and the best part, it compounds. The work you did yesterday makes today easier. The habits you built last month make this month more focused. The standards you held yourself to last year have raised your baseline so high that what used to be your best effort is now your default. That's how growth sneaks up on you, quietly, steadily, without needing anyone's permission or praise. You're not just working towards success anymore, you're operating from it. You've become the kind of person who creates results, not because you're lucky, but because you're intentional. You've stopped hoping and started becoming, and now the life that once felt distant doesn't feel impossible. It feels inevitable, not because the path got easier, but because you got stronger. That strength is yours now. You earned it. You bled for it in the silence, in the repetition, in the days that felt ordinary, but we're building something extraordinary. And no matter what happens next, no matter what the world throws at you, you'll keep rising. Because this discipline isn't a phase, it's not a trend, it's a decision that became a lifestyle, a habit that became identity, a rhythm that became your power, and that's why you'll win, again and again. Quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to understand it, because the mission isn't to be seen, the mission is to become, and you already are. What you've built in silence will echo for the rest of your life. The world may never fully grasp what it took, the sacrifices, the restraint, the relentless focus, but you will. You'll remember every moment you chose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, excellence over ease. You'll remember how many times you wanted to quit and didn't, and that memory alone will carry a strength that no outside validation ever could. Because now you move differently, you think sharper, you operate with intention. You've trained yourself to act from commitment, not convenience. You've turned repetition into rhythm, and that rhythm has carved a path where there used to be only uncertainty. You've taken chaos and replaced it with clarity. You've taken weakness and turned it into will. This is what happens when you choose to master the moment instead of escaping it. There's a quiet power in the person who no longer needs to force progress, because they've aligned their actions so consistently that progress becomes automatic. You're no longer reacting to life, you're directing it. With every habit you've hardened, with every system you've built, with every standard you've protected, you've become the kind of person who doesn't rise sometimes, you rise always. And now, there's nothing fragile about you. You're no longer hoping for the right circumstances, you create them. You're no longer waiting to feel ready. You define readiness by your willingness to begin. Every single day, you wake up with a decision. Do I move like the version of me I used to be, or do I move like the version I've chosen to become? And you've answered that question with action again and again until it's no longer a choice, it's your identity. This is why you don't fold when it's hard anymore. This is why you don't hesitate when it's uncomfortable. Because you've been here before, you've trained here, you've repeated the reps, you've suffered, struggled, and pushed in silence. And you've realized something most never will. The discomfort wasn't a barrier, it was the bridge. And because you crossed it, you now live on the other side of doubt. That's the reward of discipline, not just the outcome, but the mindset it gives you. The internal knowing that you can handle what's coming next. That you're equipped, that you're focused, that you're not hoping things get easier. You're getting stronger every day. You've made peace with the process. You've fallen in love with the repetition, and that love has made you dangerous to anything that tries to hold you back. So keep building, keep repeating, keep moving through the quiet while the world is loud, because while most are chasing shortcuts, you've already found the truth. Greatness isn't found. It's earned through habit, through hustle, through the relentless decision to rise when it's easier to retreat. And you're already rising.